You ready for another chapter? Hey, this is a good one too. It's from the book Snotgrass. Yeah. Alrighty then. This chapter is called The Jungles. Here we go. Every morning, Mammy fed me breakfast about the time Grampy was finishing up his morning chores. Grampy liked to get up before the birds, so he had already done a day's work in the garden, milked the cows, collected eggs, and split cordwood. He cleaned up, read the morning paper, and then we all had lunch. After lunch one afternoon, Grampy invited me to join him for a ride over to Kenneth's house. Kenneth was an old farmer who lived down the road a bit. He was a short, round old fella in a white button-up shirt and overalls. I think he was as wide as he was tall, so it didn't really matter which way you put him down. He would pretty much look the same. Now, Kenneth had a turkey, followed him everywhere. A great big Tom that for one reason or another thought the world of Kenneth. As short and as slow as Kenneth was, the turkey was slower. It just couldn't keep up with Kenneth. Even worse, Kenneth was very forgetful. Grampy and I sat back on Kenneth's lawn furniture and we watched the show. Kenneth grabbed his pliers from the work shed and headed off towards the garden. Tom the turkey started in following behind Kenneth. No sooner did Kenneth walk all the way out to the garden to hook the plow up to his tractor when he realized he had forgotten to bring the cotter pin. So he put the pliers down on the plow and headed back to the work shed. Kenneth met up with Tom about halfway. "Hello, Tom," he said as he passed the turkey. Tom turned around, started to follow Kenneth back to the work shed. We heard Kenneth inside his shed digging around, looking for whatever tool or part he needed. "By Jesus, I just had that goddamn thing in my hand not 10 minutes ago," he cussed. "Where the hell did I put those pliers? I'll just get another one." By the time Tom made it back to the tool shed, Kenneth came out and walked right by the turkey, carrying a different set of pliers and the cotter pin. "Hello, Tom," Kenneth said. Kenneth always greeted Tom as they passed each other. Tom slowly turned, started to follow Kenneth back out toward the garden. Kenneth got back to the tractor, saw the pliers he had previously left there, and cussed again. "God damn it, there's those friggin' pliers!" Kenneth worked with all his might to hook up the plow onto the round hitch post on the back of his tractor. "Come on, you bastard! Get on there!" he cussed. By the time Tom made it out to the garden, Kenneth was all worked up and in a sweat. Finally, the plow was hooked up proper, but Kenneth was all worn out. "Well, Tom, guess I'll leave plowing for another day," he said as he collected his 2 pairs of pliers and walked past the turkey towards the house to get a drink. Tom slowly turned around, started to follow Kenneth back towards the house. Grampy and I were giggling. Grampy looked at me and said, "That's why I come here. It's so entertaining." As Kenneth crossed the lawn, he shouted over at us, "You fellas want some homemade lemonade?" Grampy shouted back, "Don't put yourself out, Kenneth. We're okay." Now, Kenneth was annoyed by such a thought. "I ain't putting myself out. I asked you if you want some homemade lemonade." I chimed in, "Please, I would love some." "Now that's what I wanted to hear," Kenneth said and disappeared inside. Tom waited outside by the door. Now, in no time, Kenneth came out with a tray of glasses and a pitcher of lemonade. He placed it on the picnic table in front of us. Tom moseyed over and joined us. His amazing metallic black and blue feathers glistened in the sun. Kenneth smiled, seeing me finish up my glass. He grabbed the pitcher to pour me another one. "You like old Kenneth's lemonade?" Grampy teased Kenneth. "Now you know good well, tomorrow you'll be looking for both those pliers in your tool shed, and I'll bet anything you left them on the kitchen counter." Kenneth cussed again, "Son of a bitch!" and headed back inside to fetch the pliers with Tom the turkey following behind. Our drive home consisted of a few deviations. Grampy loved to hit the old dirt roads and drive through the Maine countryside. After World War II, Grampy purchased as much land in the area as he could get his hands on. He told me, "I figure land is one of the most valuable things a man can own because they're not making any more of it." He would work the land, logging cordwood, making roads, and then sell the clear plot to someone who wanted to build a house there. He liked to ride past those places just to keep an eye on them. "Let's take a ride through the jungles," he said. He took me up into the hills, through the blueberry fields where teenagers are bent over raking the berries into canvas bags slumped over their shoulders. He drove me into back-wooded areas where he logged firewood to sell his cordwood to burn during the long winter. The long drive with the sunlight through the trees was mesmerizing. I fell into a trance-like state and daydreamed as we meandered through the backwoods of Maine. Every now and then he jammed on the brakes and it shocked me out of my daze. "Did you see that?" he exclaimed. "See what, Grampy?" I wondered. "A giraffe just crossed the road in front of us," he said. "Oh, come on, there ain't no giraffe in Maine." He got all indignant. "Well, did you see it?" he asked me. "No." "Well then, how do you know I didn't see a giraffe?" Well, how do you argue with logic like that? It wasn't always a giraffe that would cross our path. Sometimes it was a swamp bogger or a yuppopotamus. Once in a while in the hills, he'd see a side hill gouger. Sometimes it was a real critter that even I saw. Driving around Maine, it's common to see animals on the side of the road. We saw wild turkeys, raccoon, porcupine, deer. Once I saw the butt of a black bear running into the woods away from us. One late night, driving through a back road, we saw a moose approaching fast along the side of our car. Grampy jammed on his brakes, but a collision was for sure. Luckily, the moose thought faster and jumped right up and over Grampy's car. The giant beast's back hooves crashed down on the top of the car and dented the roof down over our heads as it leaped over us. We sat there, just not believing what had just happened. The whole roof of the car was pushed down from the immense weight of the great creature that continued on into the woods unharmed. After that, it was easy to believe pretty much anything could be out there in those woods. Every summer, Grampy worked a different plot of land that he owned, and once he had a driveway and was ready to sell, he cut himself a willow stick and he dowsed for a well. He had a weeping willow growing in his front yard at the farm just for dowsing. He went out, he cut a Y-shaped branch, and he brought it with him on the drive out to the property that he wanted to sell. I watched him march back and forth the land, lightly holding the Y-shaped willow branch in each hand, the straight part of the stick pointing forward. Eventually, the stick turned down as if pulled by some unseen force. He marched around again over and over to see where the concentration of the magic force was. Once he was satisfied, he pushed the long part of the Y-shaped willow stick into the ground. When he sold the land, he would vouch that if the new owner dug for a well where the willow branch stood, they'd find water. Rumor had it he was never wrong. Every place he claimed a well could be dug found water. Many folk buying new land asked him to come over and do the same for them, and he did it. The best wells in that area were dowsed by my grandfather, and they all have water to this day. Oh, yeah. Ugh. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.